Hi, today I'm joined by Nilesh Rathi. I've known Nilesh for years. He's been on our commercial property mastermind program, and we're here today to tell you a little bit about one of his first commercial property auction purchases, which is quite exciting, and to take you through some of his experiences. Nilesh, hello.
Hi. Ranjan, hi. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Listen, tell me a little bit about how you got started in property.
Sure, yeah. So my property journey, Ranjan, hasn't been that long. It started in 2015, where I started direct to vendor sort of marketing in Basingstoke area. And leaflets, yeah, exactly. So there is a widespread belief that leaflets don't work in the southeast or London.
Yes,
but I was actually persistent with my efforts, and essentially I got the results locally in Basingstoke. So essentially that got me more interested in property, and I did many deals in Basingstoke locally on the residential side. And then eventually I stumbled across commercial property through you.
So this was the your starting point was basically the standard residential stuff, motivated sellers, single family homes, vanilla buy-to-let kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And then, but why switch from that to commercial property? What's the attraction there for making that switch?
I think several reasons why I decided to move from single lets residential to commercial. Mainly, I think it's slightly difficult to scale up in residential. It takes a long time to get the rental income coming from residential properties, and you need to have a lot of single lets to create that income. So obviously I was not interested in waiting that long, and I wanted to reach my targets pretty soon. And obviously commercial property offered that sort of jump into the income play. So that was one of the biggest advantage for me. Apart from that, I think a few other advantages which excited me quite a lot is commercial property tenants have to manage their own stuff in terms of the FRI leases offered by the commercial property, which was very good for me, because that actually just reduces the distraction for me, and I can just concentrate on acquiring more assets. So that was one of the other bigger factors for me.
I think you've articulated that very, very well, and it's a typical thing that residential portfolio investors get, because in the beginning you're in the acquire phase, but then managing what you've got when it's residential is a massive distraction from doing anything else. And you're absolutely right. The level of work involved in managing the commercial is far less, which allows you to focus on that asset accumulation. So, I mean, Nilesh has been on the various commercial property courses that we run in the Mastermind program, and we went together to a auction. There's a little picture of it coming up here. I'm just holding the catalogue while Nilesh is doing all the work there. But we looked at this particular deal, and you ended up buying this. Now, it's just coming up on the screen now, the details of the deal. Just talk us through this Didcot property. First of all, a lot of people say to me, look, there are 200 plus lots in this auction catalogue. How do you home in on one? So how did you home in on this?
I think we came to this lot after a lot of research, Ranjan. So essentially, I was not interested in straightforward commercial investments, which has a lot of demand from cash buyers.
Yes.
So I'm a sort of value investor, like buying value, add value, and then retain that value.
Yes.
So mainly, I think what we had in this particular lot was a local covenant, not that strong tenant as such, not known nationally, but they are doing an amazing business locally. So the strength of the tenant, which people didn't realize, I was actually able to realize through various conversations with the tenant directly before buying. And essentially the yield on this
let's just talk a little bit about that, because there's a lot of conventional wisdom that says, blue chip companies make the best tenant. And these tenants were a mom and pop operator. Can you just tell folks watching what is it that makes these mom and pop operators such a good tenant?
Absolutely. I think it's a very pleasant to deal with this sort of operators, mainly because you can speak to the decision makers pretty quickly, and you can have coffees with them and chat at length about various issues which are being faced by them, and they are very open in nature as well. So they disclose a lot of information, which will be highly not possible with the national sort of tenants, because you don't know where to approach, who is going to provide you the information. So yeah, and obviously they have built up a reputation locally, which has created a lot of goodwill for them. So they get repeat customers regularly who don't want to go to the national chains, and they like to talk to the friendly people. So that was the attraction there.
Okay, and you obviously did due diligence on the people. They were homeowners and that kind of stuff, which gave you that comfort that they were an okay type of tenant. Now, one thing that I recommend everyone does, and Nilesh has implemented this to a T, is you only get a finite amount of information in an auction catalogue, and you only get a finite amount of stuff on the net. Everyone thinks their website's available to research everything, and they are, but there's no substitute from getting out there, knocking on doors and talking to people. Can you just talk us through, when you actually went down to visit this property, the people you talked to gather greater intelligence on this lot before bidding?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So essentially, I like to call them as data points which we gather before the auction, and mainly in the run-up to the auction. So it's always gathering various data points. So we managed to speak to various commercial agents in the area, just to find their opinion in terms of how strong the market is locally. Because obviously I was not familiar with Didcot as such, so we had to speak to several commercial agents. We had to speak to the seller's solicitor as well. So we just reached out to them, just made a phone call, just asked them various questions in terms of why the vendor is selling, any issues, any sort of conflicts with the current tenant, and they were quite happy to provide us with all the information.
The key aspect here is that many people would say, I'm not going to call the solicitor, they won't speak to me. Well, you might as well pick up the phone. All they can do is say no.
Yeah.
If they say yes, you win.
Exactly.
So what have you got to lose? And you kind of sort of demonstrated that. So value add then. I mean, we've seen the lot. We'll put it up again on the screen. Lot 57, Didcot. What was the value add potential in this lot that you saw? What were the opportunities?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the lease on this was actually expiring just in 18 months' time after the purchase.
The lease to the tenant?
Yeah, lease to the tenant. Obviously, it's a freehold property, but it has a residential conversion potential, which can be realized at any time whenever the tenant vacates.
And this was under permitted development, so you wouldn't have had to go through lengthy planning permission. It was there to be had.
Definitely.
And so basically, even though there's 18 months left on the lease, you had, to coin a phrase that's very in vogue now, you had the backstop of having the option to convert to residential and a profitable plan B if they don't renew.
Definitely, yeah.
So you had that in place, but you talked to the tenants and you found out they were willing to renew.
Exactly. I think I don't like to get involved in messy conversions as such, and on this occasion we just decided to discuss at length with the tenant and see whether they are interested in renewing the lease. And I had to sit with the tenant for 3 coffee sessions at different weeks. And essentially, at the end of those 3 coffee sessions, they were quite happy to renew the lease for next 10 years without any break. So and at an increased rent of 10% higher than what they are paying right now. So yeah, I think that's one of the ways by which we added the value straight away within 2 weeks of the purchase.
But you were only able to achieve maximum market rent on the renewal because one, you picked a property which had residential conversion potential.
Yes.
So that was a more profitable plan B, if you like. Yes. And also, you sourced an alternative potential tenant if they didn't want to renew.
Yes.
Because you had some discussions with the pizza firm.
Exactly. Yeah.
So by getting another tenant lined up, it meant that if the tenant wanted to stay, they had to pay full market rent for it.
Definitely, yeah. We got in touch with the sourcing agent for Pizza Hut delivery franchisee, and they were absolutely happy to take on the lease of the shop. And in fact, they approached the old owners of the shop as well before the auction. But obviously, the owners wanted to sell; they didn't want to rent. But obviously, when we approached them, they were quite happy to take on this, and that information actually allowed us to negotiate hard with the current tenant, and essentially they just agreed with what we wanted.
I mean, this is a great little deal. A lot of people say, commercial property is big money and all the rest of it. This is essentially a £300,000 deal. You've managed to get a 27.5k rent, so that's 9.1% yield. Yeah. But the important thing is the net yield is so close to the gross because it's full repairing, insuring, lease, and it's a lot easier to manage than a lot of your residential stock.
Exactly, yeah.
So you must be very happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. To achieve this sort of rent, I would have had to get possibly at least 2 residentials. In fact, 3 residentials to get the net yield close to what I'm getting here. So I have just cut short the process of reaching that sort of cash flow target.
And I know you've been on some of our commercial property training and stuff. How useful has that been in kind of pursuing these sort of strategies?
Yeah, I think I would be honest that all the success in the commercial deals has been predominantly because of the programs which you offered and which I attended. So those are the programs I think which are very good for getting started into commercial property, and essentially the commercial mastermind program. It was an amazing program. I think one of the best attended in life, and it just puts you in a situation where you get to know different things month by month. So it's a slow and steady process where you have to take in things every month, implement the stuff, and keep moving and keep progressing. So I think I would say that pretty much all of my success is down to the courses which were offered. And thanks for all your help, Ranjan, throughout this process.
Thank you. But this is a fantastic deal, and you'll be doing many more like this if you carry on with these sort of principles. So that's all we have time for now. Plenty more interviews on the channel. Do subscribe. If you want to find out more about the commercial property weekend workshops that we only run a couple a year. Links are in the description below. But bye for now. Thank you.